Surely He has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows. Yet we esteemed Him stricken, smitten by God, and afflicted. But He was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement for our peace was upon Him, and by His stripes we are healed. All we, like sheep, have gone astray. We have turned every one to his own way. And now notice the last part of verse 6. And the Lord has laid on Him the iniquity of us all. Who put on Jesus the iniquity? The Father did. Who gave Him the cup? The Father did. Can you imagine what that must have been like? Do you think the Father suffered as well as Jesus? Folks, you know, sometimes we talk about the sufferings of Jesus, but sometimes I wonder if the suffering of God the Father was not even greater than the suffering of Jesus Christ. Because both of them were separated from one another because Jesus was bearing the sin of the world. Romans chapter 8 and verse 32. Romans chapter 8 and verse 32 is a beautiful verse. It says, He who did not spare His own Son. God didn't what? He did not spare His own Son, but delivered Him up. Who delivered Him up? The Father. But delivered Him up. Why? For us all. How shall He not with Him also freely give us all things? Let me ask you, does God the Father love us as much as He loves Jesus? That's what this verse is saying. He did not spare His own Son because He loved us as much as He loves Jesus. Or else He would not have been willing to give up Jesus, His Son. And so this is comforting to know that He was willing to go through this intense agony and suffering because He wanted us to be saved in His kingdom. He loves us as much as He loves His Son, Jesus Christ. Let me illustrate this point. I just arrived in Fresno about going on 13 and a half years ago. And one evening, one Wednesday night, we had prayer meeting and we sang and, you know, we studied Scripture and we gave testimonies. A fantastic experience. And after the prayer meeting, I was all pumped up and excited. And so I got in the car and I went up here to Clinton and I turned right on Clinton and then I turned left on First Street. And I was walking in the clouds. I was so excited about what had happened at prayer meeting. And I didn't notice that my speedometer marked 50 miles an hour. And actually 55 miles an hour, and it's a 40 mile per hour zone. And I was very, very elevated until I saw that blue and red light behind my car. And by the way, this is the only time that I've been stopped here in Fresno in 13 and a half years. And the policeman got out of his car. He came to the window, said, "Could I have your license, please?" So I took out, my wallet, and my license wasn't in there. I'd taken it out for some reason. So I says, "Well, could I have your registration?" I said, "Yeah, I'll give you the registration." So I looked in the glove compartment above the visor, couldn't find my registration. So he says, "Well, do you have proof of insurance?" I said, "Well, let me look." And so I looked, I couldn't find proof of insurance either. And so he says, "What's your name?" I said, "My name is Stiven Bor." And he said, "What is your profession?" And you know what? I was kind of embarrassed. I actually said, "Well, I'm pastor of the church right around the corner, Fresno Central Church." And he said, "Well, let me go back to my car and, look in the computer and check things out." So he was there for a few minutes and then he came back to the window and he said, "Pastor Bor, everything checks out. I know you have a license and I know that you're registered and I know that you have insurance because it's all in the computer." And I was feeling pretty good. I said, "Well, but the ticket is coming." And so he looked at me and he said, "You as a pastor of all people should obey the laws of Caesar."